G'day, I'm Bruce, and today's the day on the 871 we're going to pull the sump and see what's inside. We thought we'd done all the damage to the sump, but I think it must have been damaged a bit before. And someone's been in here before too, because it's only got a bolt here, bolt there, one here, one down there. So there's probably a bit of water in that laying in there too, from where it would have been gurney with 3000 PSI around that seal. This engine's been a real mystery bag, and we've been pretty eager in the last couple of days to try and get enough stuff done to it that we can turn it over on its back. And the weather hasn't been perfect either. We've had a few big showers along the way, so today has finally come and we're going to rip that sump off and see what's inside. Looks pretty mucky inside. There's a ring laying in there. Not looking too good. I'd say there might be a crook piston in there somewhere, but look at that. There's sludge in there too. Yep. Looks like a compression ring to me. Yep, looks like a top ring to me. Pretty scuffed up looking one at that. I don't know how a ring could have escaped like that down the side of the piston. That's a bit of a mystery. Oh well, I suppose we have a look at the bearings now and see if the crankshaft's okay. We don't know whether we've had a runaway engine here and the piston's blown up and that's come out the bottom end or what. We don't really know, and obviously someone's had the tappet covers off before, someone else has had the sump off before. Maybe that was enough for them. Maybe they pulled the sump off and they looked in and found that and thought, see you later. Another sign here that this has been undone here. Well, we haven't touched that. Someone's undone that, and I suppose maybe because the sump's been pushed in, it's pushed that up and bent that forward. Just had a bit of a fish around in here. Can't really find any pieces of piston or anything in there. Can't really see any hunks of metal or anything in there. It's just dirty sludge. That's a weird one. Have they already tipped the piece of broken piston out and just thought they'll just nicely put the sump back on with a piece of ring sitting in there? It's certainly a mystery. They feel all right. There's play there. Play in the big end there. That one seems okay. There's definitely, there we are. That looks pretty bad. That's really bad. Unless someone's had them off, but I don't think so. That one's bad. That feels all right. So I'd say she's probably a basket case. You look at that amount of wear. Unless someone's pulled the bearings out. But we won't know till we undo a cap and have a look what's in there. But man, that is a lot of play. She would have been rattling pretty well. She would have been fairly rattling, I'd say. But we need to pull those caps off and have a look and see if there's anything left. You would think there would be a big heap of metal laying in the sump, which is a bit of a mystery. Well, I guess this one here is only right at the bottom. That's probably the easiest one to pull. We probably should pull that pickup off out the way. That's probably the next thing to do. We'll take that pickup off. Well, that one's been off before. It's just sitting there. Oh, look at that, that's been off too. Just put this over here. Trying to keep it out the dirt. Now, where are we up to? Look at that. I wonder how the bearings pulled out of there. Holy man, they'd have to be bloody rattling if it would be as bad as that. These would have been rattling pretty bad. I suppose if we're going to pull that one apart, I'll just swing that around a bit. Get them right where I can get at them real easy. Get a spanner on there. Well, I reckon that might have been off too. Look at that, they've been off before. The crankshaft mightn't be at it yet. No wonder it had so much play there. I reckon the bearings probably aren't even there. If I can get that off. No, there's a bearing there, all right. Fully grooved big ends. I can't get him out. I wonder is the top one still there then? Not too much. Yeah, I think the top one is there. Crank doesn't feel all chewed up. I don't know what the hell's going on there. But look at that. There's no friction on the piston at all. Maybe there's no rings on the other end. Wouldn't have any compression like that. These engines have done a huge amount of work. A lot of times when you pull the caps, the slipper will stick to the crank. But this slipper's that tight in there. We'll have a fight to get that out. Oh, you can just push them out, but... And this one here, it looks like the bearing's definitely pulled out a bit. I'd say this one's been off before too. I don't think there's a bearing. There's a bearing in the cap, in the bottom half, but I don't think there's a bearing in the top part. Well, the bearings don't look that bad. They're not all chewed up with hunks of metal or anything. I've seen a lot worse than that. Just going to try and push this out the way. I think the bearing's gone in that top half. Or is it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure the bearing's pulled out of the top half. But that crankshaft doesn't feel that bad. That's a weird one. They must have pulled the top bearings out. It's a bit of wear there, but nothing like I thought it would be. Where's this other one up here? We'll give it a bit of a wipe. That's the first one I pulled off. Obviously it is the bottom. The top side's going to wear more than the bottom. I don't get it. It's as if someone's had... There's not too much friction on the pistons, I know that. I mean, I could just push that. Look at that. Look how loose I can push that piston up and down. Has it even got any rings left on it? Not too much friction there. Yet that one, I can't feel any play in that at all. No play in them. There's no play in them. No, maybe they must have pulled this one out and pulled the bearings out maybe. I don't get it. I don't get it, it's a mystery. Can I push that one out? There we are. Still pretty tight in the cap. What's it tell us here? Standard. Yep, standard. And that'll have a date on it, but I can't read the date without my glasses. It's a bugger when you get old, you've got to have glasses to see anything. I still don't think I can read it. This is standard. Looks like an L and standard, made in USA. and it looks like it's the ninth of 99. Got a part number there. It may be FM, and underneath that it's got 200, I don't know, maybe SCE or SCF. I need my magnifiers on it to read it properly. But with that amount of play they had, well, you'd think that'd be just chewed to mashed to bits, and the sump would be full of metal, but where are we? That was sitting there like that, wasn't it? That's sitting up there like that. Yep, that's how it was sitting anyway. I need to get a torch, shine up in there and have a good look at the other part. On a quick inspection, I can't see any broken skirts on the pistons or anything. So that's a bit of a mystery. Someone's actually pulled the bearings out. The top halves have been pulled out, that's what's going on. No wonder there's more at play there. Same with that one, they've already pulled the bearing out. That's why it's got a heap of play there. I thought the crank would be mashed to bits, but it isn't. There was wear on the inside of the throw. Huh, wonder what happened to the top bearings out of the top part. That's why these, see, I can't feel any play in them. Oh, there's a little bit there. I wonder is a bearing pull out of that one too, maybe? Don't know. Need to pull it off and have a look. They're tight. Can't feel any play in them. What about the very bottom ones down over here? Can't find any play in them. I wonder if maybe the ring came off the bottom part of the piston. Just going to put a bit of oil on that top side of that crank, seeing as there's no bearing in there. The rings are that worn, there's not going to be too much friction on there anyway, but the crank's better than what I thought it was going to be. Put a bit of oil in here, even though it's not going to do much. Now, let's try and pull that back down again. There's not enough friction there, look at that. Don't think there's going to be too much weight on the crankshaft anyway. Now that's sitting on the board there, or what's going on? Maybe one of the wedges I've got is touching. I'd say that one's had the bearing pulled out of it too. We'll pull it apart and have a look. Get that cap off. Screwdriver in there. Just leave that off. There again, it's got its bottom bearing in there, but not the top one. There's definitely no bearing in there. Push that back up. We'll have a bit of a look in there at that. There again, crankshaft feels pretty good. Shine the torch in there. I reckon they pulled the bearing out of there too. Yep, they grabbed the bearing out of there too. That's why it's got so much play. Yeah, so they must have had 3 of them. They pulled the top rod bearing out of 3. The crankshaft looks pretty good. And like it still feels good around here too. That's normally, if there's any grooves or anything, it'll be around the back side, but that looks pretty good. If the crank was really buggered, well, the bearing wouldn't look like that. A bit more dirt and a bit of junk on there, but all things considered, of course the top half does wear more than the bottom half, but there again, if the top half was really buggered, well, the bottom half would be chewed up too. Yep. I'll put this cap back on, I'll put a bit of oil around in there so I don't damage the crank if I go to turn it over. It's nearly like there's no rings on the pistons, but they'd have to be. How many big engines like this would you ever look at that? Look at that, are there any rings on there? They'd have to be worn out rings to be like that, wouldn't they? They would have to be really worn. Now the cap, here we go. Some oil on the cap. We're going to go tang to tang. Tang to tang, puts that on there like that. A bit of oil on them just to make it a bit easier to slide on and off. Put it on there like that. Right. Couple of nuts on. Pull those covers off the side plates and have a look in there and see what we can see. I'll just take these side plates off now and we'll have a bit of looking around the ports. Might be the problem there. Still got the washer sitting on there. Now we might stand a bit of a chance. We'll try and leave the gasket behind if we can. Water coming out of there. Yeah, we're going to try and get that gasket to let go. Just about got it. There we are, finally let go. Yep, broke off pretty clean. See, there's a bit of junk laying around in there. I don't know which way the gasket's going to break. There we are. Bit missing off the end. With these GMs you can look through the side, you can see the ports. Obviously that piston's down, we can see the top of the piston just there on that one. We're looking at the side of the piston here on this one. There you go, you can see the rings on that one, you can see the rings missing. I would say that ring's missing, that's probably the ring that was laying on the bottom. I don't know how it could have escaped and got past the piston, but looks like that's where it's come from. That groove right there is where that ring came from, I reckon. Oh. Looks like this one here is missing the top ring. Right there. No ring sitting in there. Look at that. Huh. Yeah, what a mystery, eh? This one looks like it's missing 3 rings. 1, 2, 3. It looks like it should have a 3rd ring in there, thin ring in there. Look at that, where did they all go to? Huh. How did it ever start and run? We had very limited information about this motor, and might be just as well we didn't try and start it. Just imagine the damage we would have done to that crank, because it looks like the crank might still be okay. For a start I thought, well, for a start I didn't realise the top bearings were gone, and I thought, well, that's it, the crank will be had it. But once I pulled the caps off and realised someone had just neatly pulled the top bearings out and I put them back, and all of a sudden I felt around the top part of the crank. I thought, this thing's better than what I thought. So lucky we didn't try and actually just try and bolt the starter and everything on and just try and hit her up, because we would have just probably wrecked a good crankshaft and conrods and who knows whatever else. So it's been bad luck one way, but probably good luck in another way. We started at the top and worked our way down. It's quite obvious that someone's been in under that sump there before, and they've probably grabbed a handful of broken rings and bits and pieces out. Because when you look at the pistons and you see there's rings missing off the pistons, well, you think, how could this thing have ever run? But you know, that's like the last story. We always come across that, how could this thing have run before? Well, I don't know how this thing could have run before either, because I don't think it would have had hardly any compression. But you know, people have stated on there before that with some of these GM motors and that, if they will turn, and you know, if all the parts are still moving, even if they're worn out, they probably will run. Well, maybe that proves it. They probably might run. We might just mothball this one. We're not going to try and start it, because obviously if it's got 3 bearings missing, or 3 half of the bearings missing out of the thing, like the top shells have gone on 3 conrods, so you'd be mad to try and start it like that. Plus with the rings too, you know, I think it would have been fat chance if it would have ran anyway. The condition of the pistons, that must be that bad. So I think it's just going to be one of those things. We just moved it from the back of his shed. It'll probably be sitting in the back of our shed now, and we'll probably move on and probably have a look at some other project, I'd say. Sorry to disappoint you all, but you know, leave a comment. It's interesting to hear what your thoughts are. And it's one of those things, I don't think I'll go into deep depression over it. I've had worse things than that happen to me in my life. That'll be it for this video. And I'm still smiling, you know, I still wonder about some of these things. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on another video. I've got the little bloke with me, and I guess I'll get him to wave hooray too. And he'll probably see you on the next video too if he's wandering about.